Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to AviNews International. This is Majida Korbi, the coordinator of AviNews Global, and we are at the second day of IPPE 2026 here in Atlanta. And today I have the pleasure of hosting Dr. Nivin Nasser. She is a postdoctoral fellow at the Department of Poultry Science at Auburn University. She is a food safety researcher. She's from Lebanon. She's an expert in the MENA region. And her focus is on controlling foodborne pathogens in the poultry sector. So welcome, Dr. Nivin. Today's conversation is focused on Campylobacter spread in the MENA region. And I would like to start our conversation by asking you, we know that many poultry farms in the MENA region, they still struggle with high temperatures and limited ventilation. And those conditions, how can they influence Campylobacter spread?
When we talk about high temperature and ventilation, we're talking about something that negatively affects the bird houses, and this causes stress to the birds. And when this happens, this provides an optimal environment for Campylobacter to survive and to spread among the birds.
Okay, and usually when we talk about the MENA region, we talk about using antibiotics not in the way they're supposed to be used. And fluoroquinones and tetracyclines are widely used in this area. So in your opinion, how does this routine use of antibiotics shape the resistant patterns observed in Campylobacter on the farms?
For the use of antibiotics, there is an excessive use of antibiotics in the MENA region because antibiotics are not used only for treatment of disease. They're used as growth promoters, they're used as prophylaxis, and sometimes they are used to target non-specific diseases. And in this case, this causes the resistance to these antibiotics, for example, ciprofloxacin and enrofloxacin, and from the macrolides, tetracycline. The percentages of resistance that we see in the MENA region go between 40 to 70% for ciprofloxacin and 70 to 95% even for tetracycline.
That is indeed a very high number. So in your opinion, what could be some realistic alternatives that the farms in our area could really adopt?
Now, we believe that water is a major vector in the transmission and prevalence of Campylobacter in these farms. So we believe that treatment of water, providing clean water for the chicken, litter management, since the litter is also shows a high prevalence of Campylobacter, in addition to working on ventilation to reduce the humidity and the water droplets that originate. Second, we can use vaccinations for the poultry on the farms, and this will help us control respiratory diseases, and then this will reduce the need to use antibiotics like tylosin and tetracycline. If we apply probiotics, organic acids to the feed of chicken, this has been a new trend, kind of, and this will allow to another population or other populations of bacteria that are beneficial to compete with Campylobacter in taking over the chicken gut. And if we implement targeted treatments, which means using antibiotics specifically when antibiotics are needed in a case of bacterial disease and not in general.
Great. You mentioned treating the water, and you talked about water. We know that water quality significantly changes, especially across the rural areas and the peri-urban areas. So how does put water sanitation contribute to the Campylobacter persistence on the farms?
Yeah. As we mentioned earlier, water is one of the main vectors of exposure and transmission of Campylobacter among farms. And when we're talking about those specific regions in the MENA area, we are talking about poor sanitation, and mainly Campylobacter persists in contaminated drinking water. It is also present in untreated water that is used for daily activities, and water also allows for biofilms, or this is where biofilms prefer to get settled in pipelines. Now, when birds drink this contaminated water, the pathogen will quickly be transferred or will directly affect the flock. and this becomes easy to transmit this infection between, or this Campylobacter between one flock and another.
Okay, and in your opinion, what could be some suggested low-cost treatment options that would be more effective?
Now, based on what we mentioned, I would say it would be some of the effective, simple direct measurements would be chlorination of the drinking water, acidifying water that is used for daily activities. When dropping the pH, this will be like a hurdle for the bacteria to grow. And we can do regular flushing and descaling of water pipes. This is where biofilms are settled, and this will also allow for the bacteria to grow. And when we talk about water tanks, we can ensure that they are covered and clean, so there is no contamination that would spread across the farms.
Very, very interesting. So another important topic we need to talk about is biosecurity, and we know that in the MENA region there are many farms that lack structured biosecurity programs. So from your experience, which single biosecurity upgrade gives the highest return on investment for reducing Campylobacter introduction?
No, it's a simple act, but it is very influential. I would say it's the controlled entry with proper hygiene barriers, which means making sure that the personnel that are entering into the building or entering into the farm premises subject their boots to a cleaning solution at the entry, and this will really control a lot of the transmission.
Okay. And one other thing that we still see in the MENA region is that we still have live bird markets, and they are part of the poultry supply chain in those countries. But how do you think that these markets influence Campylobacter circulation between farms?
Now, when we talk about this, live bird markets in the MENA region are quite familiar. And you see a lot of people sometimes don't trust big grocery stores. They prefer the live markets. They're easy to access, and especially if we're talking about rural areas. Now, with respect to these, the problem is that when you get birds from different farms, these birds are exposed to different, could be pathogens or infections or even Campylobacter. And this will cause a cross kind of transfer of Campylobacter between the birds. The birds that are brought to the live market are sometimes returned to the original farms. In that case, you have transmitted Campylobacter or any other infections from one farm to another. Also, if we're talking about the equipment that is used, for example, the crates or the equipment and even the personnel that work with these chicken, they also can transfer or expose new farms and new flocks of bird to Campylobacter.
And given that the presence of those live markets is not easy to get rid of them, what practical interventions could you reduce the cross-contamination from the farms to the market and across farms?
So it's going to be very difficult to eliminate these markets, but as practical interventions, we believe that cleaning and disinfecting the crates or whatever you are using to transport each chicken from the farm to the markets should be very well cleaned and disinfected. We need to avoid returning the birds that were exposed in the market back to the same farm or to the traders. And we need to separate between chicken that are heading for live markets and chicken that are supposed to head for processing facilities. And again, we go back to basic hygiene, implementing basic hygiene from the gloves, from the boots, from the workers even that move in between these markets is also crucial to maintain or to keep Campy outside the farms.
I see. And moving on to the last question for our chat today, considering the high Campylobacter presence in the MENA region, which farm level interventions do you think have the greatest impact at the birds before they reach to processing?
Now, there are many steps, I would say, and they're equally important. So first, we talk about catching crew hygiene. So these catching crew that help catch the chicken and put them in crates to transfer them to processing facilities or to traders, they move between farms. They are like kind of a group of people. So if there is anything in one farm, it's going to be transmitted or transferred to the other farms. And this is quite important. We need to make sure that these workers are not transmitting the Campylobacter with basic hygiene practices. Thinning practice, as we mentioned with the catching of the birds, it is also relevant to that point because sometimes you get an external crew to your farm in order to help you with catching the chicken and reducing the number of birds in the farm. And this is what we refer to as thinning. And in this case, this will help release the stress of number of any kind of environmental stress that that chicken might be subjected to. And most important as well, I would say, is feed withdrawal management. If you leave the chicken too long off feed in preparation for transfer, when they are really stressed with the lack of food, they tend to excrete more. You will have more water droplets. They will start shedding this all around the farms, the crates, and as well as all the transportation equipment.
Very, very interesting. So, to summarize today's meeting, we can understand that in the MENA region, in order to minimize the transmission of Campylobacter, we need to think of basic good management, proper biosecurity, and proper use of antibiotics. Thank you very much, Dr. Nasser, for this very insightful conversation. And thank you, and stay tuned for more live videos from AviNews International here at IPPE 2026 live in Atlanta.